They called it just breathing, but it was never just that. In hidden schools across ancient lands, breath was revered as a bridge between the seen and the unseen. A secret language not spoken with the mouth, but with the lungs, the diaphragm, the silence between exhale and inhale. It wasn't about oxygen, it was about awareness. These sages knew that breath could unlock more than energy. It could awaken consciousness itself. The rhythm of breath shaped their inner world. Inhalation pulled the divine in. Exhalation released the ego. To them, every breath was a prayer. Every pause, a portal. But in today's world, breath is noise, forgotten, rushed, shallow. No one told us that if we change the way we breathe, we change the way we exist. And maybe that's why they never taught us this method. Because it doesn't just calm you, it wakes you up. This wasn't meditation. It wasn't visualization. It was embodiment. Ancient breathwork didn't ask you to escape the body. It asked you to inhabit it fully, to enter the temple of flesh not as a prisoner, but as a guest of the divine. They knew the body held memory, and breath was the tool to rewrite it. With each inhale, they invited stillness. With each exhale, they let go of stories, wounds, identities, not to forget, but to cleanse, to reset the vibration. Some said the breath had a name, but the wise said it had no need. Because the name you whisper vanishes, but the breath you take transforms. And in this transformation, something remarkable happens. Awareness begins to separate from thought, from emotion, from noise. You realize you are not what rises and falls, you are what remains. And to touch that is not to believe, it is to remember. They didn't teach this method in temples. They passed it in silence, eye to eye, breath to breath. It wasn't a technique, it was a transmission. A living current that awakened only when the seeker was ready to dissolve, not to master. Modern breathwork focuses on control, patterns, counts, holds. But the ancients knew, the breath was never yours to control. It was something you entered, like a river. You didn't shape it, you surrendered to it. And in that surrender, the illusion of control shattered. You stopped trying to heal and allowed yourself to be healed. Not by force, not by effort, but by the intelligence encoded in the breath itself. A breath that remembers the stars, the source, the you before the story. This was the secret. Breath was not a tool, it was the teacher. If your breath just showed you something deeper, subscribe and ring the bell. This isn't just a video, it's an invitation back to yourself. In ancient circles, breath wasn't separate from spirit, they were one. The same word often meant both. Pneuma, ruach, prana. To breathe was to receive soul. And so, breathwork wasn't for performance or productivity. It was for remembrance. The inhale returned you to your body. The exhale returned you to the mystery. In that rhythm, the thinking mind began to fade, and a deeper knowing emerged, one that wasn't built on logic, but on presence. The more you followed the breath, the more you disappeared, not into nothing, but into now, into the space that always was, but rarely noticed, the space behind your thoughts, the watcher of the breath. The breath wasn't the goal, it was the gate, and those who stepped through didn't become enlightened, they became real. You don't need to control the breath, you need to listen to it. Ancient teachers didn't give breathing patterns to dominate the body, they gave them to dissolve resistance. When you breathe with full awareness, something shifts, not outside, but within. The noise starts to quiet, the urgency fades. You begin to feel what's underneath the thoughts, sensation, vibration, memory, and beyond that, presence, still, alive, watching. Most people breathe to survive, but the mystic breathes to remember. Every breath becomes a thread pulling you back to the center, to the self you forgot. And in this space, healing is not forced, it's revealed. You don't fix yourself, you rediscover the part of you that was never broken. The breath doesn't change you, it reveals you. It uncovers what has always been there, waiting. In ancient mystery schools, breath was not merely a tool, it was the portal. Students were guided through rituals of breathing not to relax, but to rupture the illusion of separation. With every inhale, they invited the divine. With every exhale, they released the false self. And slowly, breath by breath, the veil thinned. Time dissolved. Boundaries blurred. The breath didn't just cleanse, it initiated. It awakened a memory older than thought, a knowing beyond language. And in that space, people didn't just feel better, they remembered who they were. But today, breath has been stripped of its mystery, marketed as a hack, packaged as a technique. But true breathwork is not about performance, it's about presence. It asks for nothing but your full surrender, because only in surrender does the breath take you home. The body speaks in whispers, and breath is its language. But we've forgotten how to listen. We chase louder answers, more data, more noise, more stimulation, while the truth hums beneath it all, quiet and steady. Your breath has always been with you. It witnessed your first cry and will carry your last. It remembers every trauma, every joy, every moment of stillness you rushed past. And it's still waiting for you to pause, not to fix anything, not to become someone, just to notice. Because in noticing, we come home. The breath doesn't demand belief. It doesn't care about your opinions. It asks only for presence. And in return, it gives you a doorway. A return to the sacred, not as a concept, but as a felt experience. When you finally allow the breath to lead, it becomes more than air. It becomes prayer. You've been breathing your whole life, but have you ever truly met your breath? Not just as air, but as intelligence, as memory, as presence. What if the wisdom you're seeking isn't in a book or belief, but in the inhale you keep ignoring? Breath is the original teacher. Before language, before religion. It asks nothing, yet gives everything. But it only reveals its power to those who slow down, those who stop performing, those who dare to feel. In ancient temples, breath was sacred not because it calmed you, but because it changed you. It dismantled the walls between self and source. And even now, in this modern chaos, that doorway remains. You don't need to escape your life. You just need to return to what's always been with you. So take one conscious breath, fully, deeply, and ask not, what's next, but what's here? What if the most powerful awakening isn't something you learn, but something you remember with your breath?